In this video, I'm going to be going over what it means to really be a part of the nation here and what it means to really be affiliated as a Brit and everything that it is to be British and all the different sorts of things that might exclude or include the people that actually live here. There's a bunch of different things we have seen recently where, with Brexit, there are very shifting ideas on what it means to be British and what it means to really be a part of this country. And so this is an interesting topic to look at and focus in on what really makes someone British. And so what I think it means to be British is that you tend to be more working class. You tend to have a routine of working through your week, and then you have football on the weekends, and you go out once or twice during the weekend, and it just is kind of that repeating cycle from what we've seen and heard about, where everyone's just getting by and everyone's kind of in their own little world. From everything I've seen on the tubes, everyone kind of has their headphones in, or they're not really talking too much. They just kind of keep to themselves. They're obviously a bit more quiet than us Americans have been over here, and everyone just doing everything they can to just kind of make themselves get through everything that they're going through during that work week, and they're just really focused on making sure that everything they have is being met. And so another thing that I would say it means to be British is to be heavily affiliated with the country itself. Everyone really seems to back the national teams of all their sports, and they really seem to have a lot of true athletic heroes here. There is a bunch of references to all sorts of heroes when we went on the Wembley tour, irregardless of sport. It was between soccer and cricket. There was a few rugby players mentioned, and so just having a strong affiliation for your fellow countrymen is another thing I sense it means to be British. Some of the symbols of being British would be the three lions, obviously. It's affiliated with the soccer team most commonly, but it's pretty much all over the place here. It's very easy to make out what the three lions mean here and what memories are brought back by these three lions. When I was doing my interview, the conversation started because of the jersey I was in, like just them noticing the three lions in the shirt and then wanting to find out how I got it and sort of reminiscing about the memories they had seeing me in this shirt as well. Another one of the symbols would be the Union Jack. Even though it's not necessarily England itself, the Union Jack is featured on a lot of different things here, and there's just a lot of the touristy things are targeted with the Union Jack, just because England's flag itself usually isn't used. It's more the Union Jack, and that's what people affiliate it with. It's just when they see the Union Jack, that's England to them, when really it's not. But I've noticed that when we've walked around, that seems to be kind of the targeted audience, is the touristy people here, and just seeing that flag over the England flag is a bit more representative to that idea. How we've been able to identify people who are British here has been mainly through their clothing and their style. They tend to have a very well-dressed, well-groomed looking appearance most of the time. Like, I'd say 90% of the time you run into someone who's British, they're not wearing sweatpants or a sweatshirt, and they don't usually have the 5 o'clock shadow, or they don't look like their hair is still their bedhead. They look like they put themselves together, put on a real outfit, and gone about their day, instead of just looking like a very lackadaisical, I'm just gonna get by today look that a lot of Americans have. I know I'm obviously guilty of it, being in college and waking up for an 8:30. I usually don't try and look my best. I usually just say, as long as I look presentable, that's good enough for me. Typically, when we've been talking about the fans of who supports these clubs, they say working class white males is the just general, that's who goes to these games, that's who's affiliated with the club. But in reality, a lot of the British people here are very diverse. There's a very diverse culture here. There's a huge Indian presence. There's a huge Caribbean presence. There's obviously very close to a bunch of bordering countries, so like the Spaniards, the French, the German, the Dutch, the Belgian. There's a whole list of just like small minorities of people who would have emigrated here, and it's reflected in the food. Obviously, I had said I tried South African and Caribbean chicken, with the jerk chicken and the Nando's. So even though the country is portrayed as very white, which obviously is the case, it's a very white country, but they do their best at catering towards the minorities here, and then there's all sorts of reflections of that in a lot of the areas around here that the minorities have built up themselves and that they've made their own, being here in England versus being back home, wherever home might have been at one point or another. I think a lot of the perceptions of what it means to be British now is going to be changing as more and more people who are representing the country in athletics are being more and more diverse. Like the 3 players who missed the penalties in the Euros were all African English players. It felt like when you were watching the Euros comparatively, England had a lot more diversity amongst their own nation than a lot of the countries did there. And so I feel like what the identity of the country will start shifting soon to start reflecting that a little bit better and making sure that there is more an appropriate and actually representative society expectation of what it means to be British instead of the working class white middle-aged man that you tend to see and hear about all the time here. So those are just some of my thoughts on what it means to be British, what the whole understanding of being British is over here from what we've seen. And one of the big takeaways for me was seeing how much better England was at representing their minority cultures with just better, more accessible things for them that they could affiliate with their background and their current residence, as opposed to in America where it feels like everyone just kind of has to live the American way, and the American way has been dominated by white male societal norms forever. I felt like there was a lot more representation for the Indian and Caribbean cultures that are heavily present here as well. And so that was just one of the big things I noticed was where America could do better is representing their minorities a bit more like how Britain has done. And overall, just being British, you have a lot of that nationalistic sense, and I think that comes from, even though it's a bit divided right now because of Brexit, a bit more of that inclusive idea that they all want to get behind. And so that is what I think it means to be British and what it is to understand the nation as a whole.